Oh, is there a link here? Is it just random? Well, let's look at it a bit closer with Ricardo Baretzky. He's joining us now from Brussels. He's president of the European Centre for Information Policy and Security. Hi, Ricardo. Nice to see you. As I was saying, two of these attacks have been linked to ISIL. How likely is it other attacks could be linked to the far right? Maybe, or were these all just, or probably random, just random youngsters with a grudge on their shoulder, one of them particularly with some mental problems. Is there a link? Is it random or is it not? What do you think?
Well, firstly, allow me to express our solidarity and condolences for the victims in this situation. Is there a similarity? Obvious. I think it's very clear that on distance it might not look linked, but these problems is to be expected when certain policies hasn't been followed, and most importantly that security risk is increasing due to the fact that these events that we are seeing is indirectly related to certain issues and policies that took place over the last 2 years.
Yeah, but you can't say the Munich attacker, for instance, that shot those people with his gun. How can you blame that on policies of the last couple of years? How are you seeing the tie-in?
Let me explain. When we alerted 2 years ago the Exodus alert, and last year also published the official report, in that report was mentioned very clearly the risk of infiltration and sleeping cells independently, and also the self-radicalization process, which has only now recently come to public attention. But the reality is that the self-radicalization issue does not need a direct link to each event, and it doesn't need a direct link between the parties involved. All it needs is a direct link or an indirect link to the origin of this problem or the origin of the command.
Is it a fair statement to say that Germany's open door policy that Angela Merkel, on the face of it, brought in with the very best intentions to help other human beings, has actually made Germans more fearful these days?
Well, sadly, there's a big risk in this decisions that's been made. And the real risk here is that, when you have such a vast volume of refugees, which is not migrants, because we must distinguish what's happened here, which is not properly screened of backgrounds, you can expect these type of problems to happen. And you'll have a mixture of terrorist issues, which we can see clearly, but we also have a mixture of other problems, and they clutter each other. And this is exactly what the danger is, and which the terrorist organizations such as ISIL is wishing for, because it's playing in their mouth. So
should Merkel take it across the knuckles for this? Because on a practical level, there was no time to screen everybody. These people were trying to get away. If you believe what you read from the very great dangers that they were facing at the time, there was no time to check them. They had to be taken in. They were coming across the borders. They were coming across the Mediterranean. A lot of them were dying. Something had to be done. Is it right to blame Merkel for this?
Well, it's not a question of blaming Merkel. It's a question of a few things that played at hand. One of them is that the international community waited a little bit too long to react with the issues in Syria. And the second problem is that when they did react, it was already too late. Now what we're seeing is that these problems is escalating. And the real risk here is that terrorist organizations will use this to their advantage. I was watching earlier and listening to the information. This type of bombing used like yesterday is called cluster bombs. And these cluster bombs is a very typical form of used in early stages, I say early stages of guerrilla warfare. And this is very alarming signs, because the type of signs that we see on the walls is those signs that you don't want in your territory.
I suppose there has to be a look at where the materials for this cluster bomb came from. Again, where did that guy in Munich get the gun from, etc., etc.? Because unless you try and tackle it that way, how else do you tackle these lone wolf, young often, lone wolf attackers?
Well, there's a lot of things that can happen. You know, the first thing is we have called already before for an international coalition and support in working together internationally. Second thing is that they need to refine the way they operate. The German police force has never seen this before. They have never seen these type of problems related in a similar way, and they have to be educated. And most importantly is that the government has to realize that they have to work with the correct people and the correct advice. And there's a big danger here that they are following the wrong advice.
So we've seen this awful spate of attacks in Germany. Is your worry that there's going to be more to come in Germany and maybe its European neighbours?
Well, you know, I think that this will certainly have an influence on all the neighbors. This event is unforeseen, but at the same time could to a large extent be avoided. Are we going to see these events increasing? My guess is yes. There's a big danger here, and again, I can't stress more important that they begin to realize that they have to change their views. They have to change the way they look at these things. And most importantly, that they have to find solutions and listen to the correct solutions which makes productive results, because the present solutions have no result. And this is a very negative situation in public.
There are millions of asylum seekers, refugees, whatever you want to call them in Europe at the moment. There are hundreds of thousands more to come imminently too. What can be done now, or is there nothing that can, there's no blanket thing that can be done to try and ease the dangers here at the moment, is there?
Well, there's very little that can be done to manage the migration issue coming. You know, I think we are only witnessing the birth of it. What is important now is that they change the structure. They have to reform the policy. We have said before we need a single judicial system across Europe and maybe parts of the world to incorporate. And this is important that they begin to understand how they're going to use the legal system to make this work. Terrorism, you can't fight all the time with violence. And when we constantly provocate the growth of violence, we breed a society negative. And what we have to find solution here is to see what is the result of this negativity and what's the result of the future. Because we're not only talking about today, we're talking about things in the future that's about to happen. And they can misprevent these things because it is affecting the international community more than local.
Yeah, Ricardo, we're going to leave it there. Thanks for your thoughts. Ricardo Baretzky, President of the European Centre for Information Policy and Security.
Thank you.